And that one last line seems too familiar. 'Cause I don't wanna be the one to tell ya. And I don't wanna be the one to kill ya. 'Cause you're pushing it a little too hard. So open like a one-eyed superstar. I'm tired of living like there's one last reason to live. And that one last line seems too familiar. Right? Right, mama's people. Peace, love, and light. Remember, recover, return. I can never say it. Remember, recover, return. And let's very first give thanks to the Vril mother, the beautiful Vril mother, because she stood alone and made herself a warrioress. She can say the warrior is never the victim, right? And oh, America, so full of fake. All your macho, tough guy. All this World Wrestling Federation nonsense. It's not going to end until the warrioress shows up in her UFO. Because America chants the meaningless mantras. The meaningless mantras of games, sports, and just commercial plastic fluff. Cellophane skin on top of nano biometric blood. The blood memory has been lost to the computer nerd. I mean, this is their narrative, you know. Elon Musk. The actual, this is like a high school play, you know, the acting's so bad. Because they stole prophecies. They put together a wild ass book called the Book of Revelation. And people are like, I've seen the documents, I study. You're studying your enemy's illusion. You're studying something that is meant to test the essence power of each individual, and you're showing that you have none because you don't trust yourself, you trust someone else. I mean, just bottom line, that's Christianity. There were eyewitness. Oh, and you're believing a book that supposedly quotes an eyewitness of an eyewitness, and you're like, that counts. You're like, who wrote that book? I don't know. That's a good way to verify it. That is what we should place all of our personality, all of our meaning, all of our purpose on what someone else thinks. What your goddamn pastor, who is dumb as a fucking... And of course our people, I'm talking with you. To the very people that would talk down to us and tell us, oh, foolish child, there was no UFO. Oh, foolish child. Get a job that pays, foolish child. Quit trying to write songs, foolish child. This If you can come, it took me very long. Maybe these are just concepts that you're hearing for the first time, and that's great. That's awesome. Um, but let's go together, right, to Maria Orsic's teachings. This life is not real. This is a simulation. This is a hologram. That's what we call it back home. A holographic universe, a holographic dimension. Like Maria said, it's as real as any other dimension because why? Your imagination is what makes everything real. Why? Because you live in heaven. That would be eternal. It could never not be if it's eternal. It didn't begin, it didn't end. And you ventured out of your, symbolic egg, whatever you want to call it. Everything's energy. Everything's energy, one way or another. Good, bad, ugly, disgusting, beautiful, angry, loving, peaceful, wise, whatever. It's eternal energy, if it's our energy. And you can see how the English language is the most magical language. That this is coming from Maria, who speaks English, perfect English. Why? Because she's spoken it now for millions of years, because it is the universal language of sex magic. We don't really like the word sex because it sounds like a doctor. We don't use that word back home. We say magic. This is the practice of magic, is the practice of using the most powerful energies in all the universes for your own happiness, for your own ends, for your purpose, and yours only. Until your heart is opened. And the very thought enters the super being that's in the egg. Why do I say super being? Because it's totally, completely self-sufficient. In the self's universe, the self, and this is where the whole heart, art, comes from. The heart of the individual in the egg in eternity is completely, totally, sufficiently his own son in S-U-N and in S-O-N. And that's where you get the Son of God. Died for you. Because the eternal self, true self, creates avatars to go out in adventure and learn. And then create to connect with others. And he quickly learned that suffering was outside of the egg. But it could be turned into art, expression. It could be transformed into something that connects that one self who is not lonely, but knows something's missing. That's what I was told. That's what I remembered. Right? Either you're eternal or you're not. And the creator of the New Testament Gospels is a eternal, deceiving spirit outside of space and time. And Lou and all of us basically value this person for being that, because we convene and we say, would there be any other way to learn? You know? How do you experience anger? Say you want to, right? And if you're real and you're listening to me, you came to this very place to experience things like anger, things like sickness, broken hearts, poverty. No one is in poverty on Venus because people are given what they want in simulated realities. And like Maria said, it's worked for millions of years now. And what she's interested in is the giving the proverbial 144,000, 12,000 from each zodiacal tribe. But that would be the new zodiac, right? Because this is the new age. This is the KNEW age, or it's beginning. It's about to begin soon. And as we see the small g gods of this world, who are very, very, I'm talking about I shouldn't say the gods of this world, the gods of the Matrix, the process church, the golden dawn, because 400 million times they've ended the simulation because Lucifer commands them to, ordains them to, predestines them to. It's just technology. Remember that. It's just technology. You can ordain and predestine in a video game. It's quite easy. It's quite easy. All you have to do on that plane is imagine it, and the code appears in the minds of those who are sleeping back on Venus with a very sophisticated computer chip inserted into their Venusian Aldebaran energy body. That is what it is. That's heaven. You don't like it? Too bad. Maybe you're stuck here. Maybe that's why you don't like it. But I assume that's comforting to our people to hear someone say that. That's the practical side of these things. And the genius of the New Testament was to try to take ancient documents and rewind them and re-edit them and reweave them into what Maria calls, like you would say, the overtime in your sports games. In the real first physical universe, the Earth was destroyed in 1948 by a nuclear war that was initiated by Britain and America, who have now transformed themselves and extended that time in their proxy state, their fake spiritual state, their fake The whole thing's fake because they're reenacting something that happened with the giants, right? And they're reenacting what they themselves did in 1948, but they're stretching it out into a free for all. They think it's creative, and they take much pleasure in scaring you with giant bombs and all their threats of death. It's just like a video game, like how the graphics get crazier and crazier, and wilder. And they have stretched out their time because their time is limited. And this is the game that they actually play with people on their level. That really, they're like, yeah, we know that you know what we're doing, and we know it wouldn't take very many people, powerful people in the simulation to concentrate and meditate and imagine our defeat, because naturally we're the polarity of your stability, right? Maria took everything to Venus in another dimension and stabilized everything and gave us, like she said, normal life, so that the arts could become center. Because what else is there to enjoy in the eternity but each other? What else do we have, right? Why do you want, why buy in to things imagined by jerks? They're just jerks, man. These people, they are very much in love with their kind of people, this dark, self-satisfied person who's like, I'm better than you because I'm good and evil. And like Marie, I can hear her say, because of over 14 years, we've fought with these people. I can hear her say that. And what's wrong with you is you're proud of it. You're proud of your experience in things that disgust us. And we're not talking sexually. We're talking principles. The principles of using vulnerable people. The principles of might makes right. That, because you're smarter and stronger. And that's why we live in a country right now where you turn on the internet and you turn on, men's, quote, issues, and you will straight up see people saying, you know what we need to do? We need to be more masculine and lift more weights and start fighting with each other. What we need to do is fight. And the gods are like, dude, we have technology that flashes beams from the sky and consumes you. What you're training to fight with each other, you stupid slaves. You're retarded slaves. Beat each other's heads in for some stupid, retarded, money-loving religion. Who ever heard of a religion with that kind of reputation? You'd never hear people be like, yeah, those money-loving Buddhists. Gosh, those Zoroastrians, all they're about is money. They're all up in the banks and interest rates and loan mortgages. Those Zoroastrians, goddamn. And they're always together. They always got each other's back, those, those Mithrans. Those Odinites, gosh. Penny pinchers, aren't they? And if you're like, but hold it, brother, I'm a real Yahwist. Hey, so am I. So am I. How could you say that? Someone said to me, I don't understand you. You say Yahweh is evil, and then you say you're Yahweh approved. You don't get it? You don't get it. There's a real man. His name's Lucifer. His name's Lu. His name is Shiva, he's known by, right? This is the actual person that came to me, and he told me I was wearing makeup and looking like Marilyn Manson. He was like, do you get it? Joe, my Joseph. You do get this, don't you? And I'm like, no. And he's like, it's a character. It's a character. Has no history. It's a character I created to suck people in, to see if they would believe the retarded lie that you're chosen above all people for no reason, for no earned reason. Like he said, you know as well as I do, Joe, there's nothing free. As your mother said, everything's in balance. You do something for me, I'll do something for you. Everything is earned. No love is given unconditionally. There is no such thing as unconditional love, because that's gross. That's disgusting. You must earn. You must reflect. You must be love to be loved. That's the real truth. You can go on with fantasies, right? And that's why people like Christianity, because it's that Star Wars, you're fighting yourself story. And they're like, yeah, my stop. I mean, there comes a time. There comes a time to release the cord of self. And declare your perfect mental health. For real, though, that's crazy. And what's in balance is energy for energy, right? I love you because it's my duty. That's gross. That's disgusting. I love you because what I see, what I hear, your vibration, your frequency. And I'm trying to help you, like Maria helped me, extract the fake love, right? God is love. That really is as simple as saying your dog, your best friend, really loves you. That is as simple of a polarity, magic deception on your emotions as you can get by someone saying, did you know the Bible says God is love? What they're really saying to your unconscious is your best friend really loves you. And it does comfort you, and it does deceive you, because you must give it to Crowley and the people that created this. They studied it, obviously, millions of years. They know exactly how to deceive you. They know how to play on your emotions, and that's why the second ritual I did began with Star Wars and me watching Luke Skywalker cut off Darth Vader's head, remove his helmet, and it was Luke. It was Luke. It was Lukey. It was Loki. He cut his own head off, right? Because the true self created Jesus to go on the cross. You, the true self, created you. You're the Jesus that came here to suffer the sins of others, not your own, right? You have none, because you're the Jesus, because you're the mushroom. If you will become one with the mysteries, with the mystery, which is the mushroom, which is your true self, which is the sun in the sky. How can a ball of gases and vapors not vaporize? How can it stay the same for so long? that it keeps everything stable and balanced in all dimensions. And that's why we live on Venus under the black sun, because the white sun provides the energy for the black sun, so we can have physical bodies, so we can have an expression from another dimension. It's that simple. You are your art. You came here to do this and not suffer. I mean, you did come here to the Matrix to suffer, but you didn't come out of the egg with the intention to suffer. It was, in a way, nothing's new under the sun. And in a way, every time the giant circle of natural eternal return, every time it repeats, it feels new. That's how sophisticated your true self is. That's what we need to concentrate on, as they put a gun to our heads, all the toxic shit they have, proverbial gun to our head, killing, I see my customers dying all the time, just killing people with invisible radiation, toxic microwaves, all this shit, right? Why are you here? For real. That's what we're trying to get at. That you came out of the egg because you're eternal. And really, you felt emotions for the first time, right? Fear, but you're not fear. There was no fear before you encountered fear. And what I'm trying to say simply is that your problems are coming from other people, and it's good to be alone. I know it takes getting used to. It takes, it's like a practice. It's like a spiritual practice, And it's like a mantra. It's good to be alone. It's good to be alone. It's good to be alone because that's where you can do your real work, whatever it is. That's where you can look into your heart and start to draw, write songs on a guitar, play the piano, create pictures, sew beautiful clothing, create in all its wonderful forms. And after that big, long Maria Orsic intro, I just want to get to a story I left off in the last pod where I was talking about me and my mother moving to, and it's going to lead into a detailed and complete picture, as Maria would have it, of who I am, her son Joseph, right? And it's, to give you the data and the background. And I just, I'm going to kind of preface it like this. Like, when I was 7 years old and Maria's UFO appeared in my backyard one night, everything went crazy. Everything in my 7-year-old life went crazy. I ran away from school a couple times. I don't know why. It just, everything. And when I started doing this ritual, everything went crazy again, the same way, on the same levels. And lots of cycles were kicking in because the sun, moon, and stars are going around the sun, and it's producing the cycles without your approval. It doesn't need your consent. It is nature. It is a machine that just grinds out the cycles. So if you want to see the patterns, the cycles, they're there. I went and seen them. I'm not going to go into that much detail. I wrote like I guess you would say, a mini book called The Patterns, talking about cycles, and that's our hope. Our hope is that we don't hope in something that we wonder is going to happen. We know that this motherfucking wheel is turning, and it's going to turn. Even if you love your misery and wallowing in your fucking misery and taking all the meaning, it's going to turn, whether you like it or not. Because, again, balance is happiness and everything is cycles because everything is eternal return. This is actually the mystery, is that you are eternal. And the mysteries are connecting back to that before you die. Because once you die, you're like, God damn, why couldn't I figure that out when I was alive with the people I wanted to figure it out with, right? That's why we don't go back to the egg, because we have regrets. So I just want to connect these two like cycles. Right after I started doing Maria's ritual, which I did because the Missouri River goddess told me to do it. I may truly may have never did the first 5-gram mushroom ritual, and I certainly wouldn't have done it the way she told me to do it if she didn't intervene in my life, which she proved to me that night, that first night, which was about 3 grams. And she explained to me that she was doing everything, even before I was born. I was like, okay, if you say so. At that time, I had no idea what was real and what wasn't. I didn't know about no simulation at that time. I may have, seen the Matrix movie, but had no, proof that it was real. And I knew no one else that actually, I still don't know anyone that lives. Lots of people agree, but they don't live that way. But I had a childhood friend, and I guess it's significant. His name was Matt. And he had been traveling, like I said, like was prophesied over us correctly, that he would travel many, many, many states, almost every single state. And he had been doing that for 10 years. And periodically he would show up at my house and we would have a great time, talking about what we had been learning. But as you see, the 10 years were mostly the Christian years. And so this time, I hadn't seen him for like a year. And the last time we talked was when our friend died, and I just only couldn't go into detail, but, able to tell him, I don't know where you stand, but I'm no longer a Christian. The Bible's not the Word of God. The Bible's fucking nuts. He was like, yes, exactly the same place as you. I'm starting to realize astrology. I was like, yes, right. This was the very, very beginning. This was like 6 months after, I had really decided in my mind, like, holy shit, somehow Jesus isn't what I thought he was, isn't who I thought he was, and this whole story isn't what I thought it was. I was reading The Mushroom and the Cross. And like Maria said, isn't it beautiful that mushrooms aren't for everyone? I said, that's a very Scorpio thing to say. Mama. Beautiful mother who looks like she's 20. Whom I love so, 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 so much. And Olive, if you're getting anything, thank Maria. I'm just her spokesman. I'm trying to put what she taught me for 14 years in clear, concise terms, and yet, as she would have it, Scorpio style. Obscured so that it's still fun for you. But my friend showed up at my house. He said, I don't know if you can follow me in this. And this was right after I started doing the ritual. Like I said, everything went crazy. My friend showed up. And he's like, man, he's like, I can't even begin to tell you what has happened to me. And I'm like, I know, I can't begin to tell you what has happened to me. I started doing this 5-gram Terrence McKenna ritual, and he was like, I did too. He's like, man, you gotta listen to me. This is so crazy. He said, and I'm not gonna tell the whole story because it would be hours, but I'm gonna stop and show you the cycle. Right? So he starts to tell me he was camping in the redwood forest, Yosemite or whatever. I don't even know. I've never been there. And how he was kidnapped by the police who were like in a very strange cult. And he's like, they took me from like the police station out to the woods. And he's like, they gave me some kind of drugs, IV, strapped me down to a table, a bed. But here's what I want us to, we'll go completely into his story sometime. But what I want us to get is this. I was listening very closely, having just learned the principles of logic. I'm like, man, let me just take in this data. And he's like, listen to this. He's like, they gave me drugs, whatever they were. He said that would take me forward in time, backwards in time, out of my body, put me back in my body. He's like, Joe, but the craziest thing is, what they showed me was they had been watching me my whole life. He's like, I so clearly remembered this memory. And he's like, I seen myself. I must have been like 4 or 5 years old, like right before kindergarten. Remember, I was saying my mom and I moved to an apartment right before kindergarten. And he's like, my dad took me to a park. He said, I never understood this and never forgot it. He said, I was playing on the playground and my dad looked really worried. And he said, just imagine, he was only like, 30 years old. So he was young. And he had been in the military, take note. And he said, my dad kept staring over at this picnic table. He said, first appeared 2 guys in suits. He was like, then 3 guys in suits. And then 2 more guys in suits. 5 guys. He's like, maybe more, Joe. He's like, I'm just remembering this as a child. He's like, and I'm strapped to a bed, and this is the very first thing that happens to me as they put this IV in me. I have this vivid memory of me and my dad at this park, and he kept looking at these people, and I kept looking at these people, and I said, Dad, who are they? And he said, don't be afraid. They're watching us. They're men from the future. He said, and even my 4-year-old mind was smart enough to say, like, how is that possible? And he said, I don't know, but they go back and forth from their world to our world, but their world is in the future of our world. And he said, Joe, strapped to that table, whatever they gave me, made me able to telepathically hear my father's thoughts. And he wanted to say to me, son, what I am so afraid of is them kidnapping you. He said, when I seen that, I screamed at the top of my lungs, and they grabbed me and they said, we're the same people. We got you now. We got you now. We deceived you. And he said they just are the evilest people. He said they just kept saying, your life is in our hands. And I'll go into his story how they were making him die and bringing him back to life using these chemicals and recording everything that was happening to him. And no lie, and this is kind of like where Maria and Lou want me to begin with my story, is I was outside of the apartment riding my big wheel around, right? And a car kept pulling up, stopping in the middle of the street, and just staring at me. And it was like a man with like a mustache, like today. This was 1976. Today we would be like, it looks like a porn star. It was like a young, good-looking dude with a mustache, like a very, manicured, nice mustache, and like parted in the middle hair, like, hair styled like the 70s, like stylish, I guess. And he kept just pulling into the apartment, pulling up to me and just staring at me as I'm riding a big wheel, and moving the car and just staring at me. And then driving off, and this happened a couple times. Like every time I would go out and ride the big wheel, he would come. I don't know about every single time, but it happened several times. Like I think the second time it happened, I said to my mom, I feel scared sometimes out there, Mom. A guy keeps looking at me. A man keeps looking at me. And she said, well, if he comes back, you come in here. Right? And you can imagine what I'm going to tell you, how it scared her, because I was already telling her, you know. But I also think that she also thought I had a very active imagination and, didn't take me completely serious until this happened. No bullshit. This is truth. The man pulled up one day. It must have been like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, because everyone was at work. I'm 4 years old. My mom was not working, and I'm out riding my big wheel. The guy pulls up and parks the car, and I'm watching him park the car, and I'm riding my big wheel away from where he's parking the car. I see him get out of the car and start running to me, running towards me. And I jump off the big wheel, run across a busy street, like a 2-lane, busy street, and start yelling and screaming and running towards a whole street of like brick houses. And the very first, or one of the closest houses to me, had a big fraternity flag hanging from the front of the house on the porch of the house. And I just started, and I seen like people there on the porch because it was like a spring summer day. And I just started yelling, help, help, help. And the guy was running. It was like up, like pretty close to me, like 10 feet away from me when I started screaming. And I actually, my eyes were like bouncing as I was running as fast as I could. And I actually could see that, like, the people on the porch could see me, could hear me. And I I was running so fast I didn't know. I could hear and see the dude out of my corner of my eye, but I never really looked, and he must have just stopped or slowed down, and I just kept sprinting all the way to the very porch. And I'll never forget this just young kid. He looked like he was like 15, but I guess he's probably 18. He was like, little dude, little man, little hippie, because I had long hair. I had long straight hair. He was like, little hippie, what's wrong, little hippie? Is that your dad, little hippie? And I was so confused. I said, yes, yes, he's trying to beat me. Because my mind was just trying to tell them the most, what it was. I was 4. And they're like, it's okay. We're not going to let him. We won't let him. And to make a long story short, I was so afraid to go back to my mom's apartment. I wouldn't, they kept asking me, hey, little hippie, little dude, where do you live exactly? We need to tell your mother that you're here. You're over here. Like, you can stay here with us for a while if you're afraid, but we got to tell your mom. Your mom will call the police. She'll be so scared. She'll be so afraid. And I was so afraid. I was shaking. I was so afraid. I could not tell them for a while. I could not express. I didn't know where I lived. Like, it blanked my mind out so powerfully that I could not remember which apartment building it was, you know? And they were like, it's all right, it's okay, it's all going to be fine. You're okay, don't cry. I remember the one kid saying to me, don't cry, you're fine. And And like I guess I stayed there so long that my mom came with the police. I guess someone said like they seen me running over there. And it probably was no more than like, 15 minutes that 15, 20 minutes that I was gone. But my mom got so scared she immediately called the police. And as far as I remember, nobody believed me that a dude was trying to kidnap me. You know what I mean? I said I ran over here because a man was chasing me, and the kid said, "Yeah, man, well, we thought it was his dad." He said it was his dad, and I tried to explain like I was so. I told my mom. My exact words were, "I was so upset, Mom. I couldn't talk, so I was just agreeing, with what they were saying. Like, was that your dad?" I was trying to tell her like I wasn't there. I was out of my body. I was so scared. I was out of my body. The Matrix does that to you. It makes you jump out of your avatar. See, the avatar is so sophisticated that you are the exact reflection of your mind and body and Vril energy of the true self. You know what I mean? Like, you know that you're that. So, like what you would call your soul or like your, uh, conscious mind, in a very traumatic moment, will just say, fuck this, and run away. Like, I did a ritual. Let me end on this, I guess. Let me just say this. I had a favorite cat named Winter, and my my wife called me one day while I was working, and told me he got hit by a car and died. And then next week in the ritual, when I drank my tea and I flew out of my body, Maria was holding him, and she said, I want you to learn this. I want you to see this. And she was explaining to me at this time how to heal someone physically in the matrix. Because we all know how much it sucks to watch anyone suffer from sickness. And, but she was showing me like this, it takes, someone who naturally is this way. She was like, this is your Virgo rising. She's like, the reason you're like this is your true self is Virgo rising in this world. In this world, you're Virgo rising. You know, you're that part of me that heals, the healing river, the healing waters, the healing waters, right? And as she held as she held Winter, she showed me like this is what happened like the other cats, they were trying to tell me that he was dead, that he was already like on another plane, like, and they were like, why can't he hear us? Like, we're all trying to tell him, because I didn't know where he was in the morning. And Maria showed me, like, when I knew, I totally, completely knew, too, unconsciously. I knew something was wrong. Like, I knew he was gone from this matrix world. And you might say, if this is all illusion, then why be so emotional? But this is what we came here for, to experience this. And she was saying the same thing to me, like, don't be upset because, and this is how she taught me this, And I was trying not to be, because I was trying to live with I was trying to live by the revelation of the truth that we're living in technology, sophisticated technology. However, but anyway, I was like the observer of myself, and I was like driving the delivery truck, and when my wife told me instantly, like what you would consider like your soul, like your conscious mind, I watched it like take form of like another me, like an invisible me, and just run off from where I was and just run like out of space and time all the way to my house where I live and under the tree. And I looked at Maria, because I was completely out of my body and she's holding the cat. And I said, "What the fuck was that? What that? What did that mean?" And she said, "It meant exactly what you seen." She's like, "It upset you so much. The news of your cat dying." She's like, "This is the Virgo rising in you. This is why why you are, why I'm training you as a healer, you know, just to help people suffer less, What, like Maria said, really, what else are we going to do in a world without suffering, right? Well, like she said, that's why I work here, and that's why this is the main attraction. Attraction. And she told me, "You're lucky that your life's not falling apart." She said, "You have enough essence energy from like another plane." But she said, like, you disappeared from, conscious reality basically, and you've been on autopilot for the last 3 or 4 days. I was like, that is no bullshit. She's like, if you continued on like this, you know what would happen? I said, no. And she's like, you'd kill yourself. She's like, that's why people really do kill themselves, Joe. I said, because they're not even there. And she said, exactly. They're observing the avatar and they're going, what the fuck is the point? I'm not even there. I'm not even in the body. I might as well just get rid of it. I've been over here for years. It's obvious. I'm not going back. People like, that's sad. I know. And, we should change the world and, make the world a better place for those very simple reasons of like, what makes sense, Does it really make sense to trick each other out of money? Does it really make sense that you need more than a lifetime's worth as you're being poisoned and stolen from? If you fought for what is being stolen from you, you would have to work half as hard as you do, and believe they worked out the numbers, right? Oh, they're good at numbers, right? Oh, I have a friend, he's good with money. Investments. Boring. Like Maria said, that's, that, hey, like she said, in everyone's world, they have their own definitions. That's what some people call art. Like she said. Some people call that, she said, like Joe, some people compare that to the dance I created that you watch called Death. And let me tell you, what a incredible. I remember I had a friend and she was recording all her dreams in a notebook, and so was I. And we were meeting like once a month, and I would tell her, bring your notebook. I've had a lot of dreams. Let's compare dreams. And I so remember telling her about this dream. I go, hey, I straight up dreamed. I don't know if it was from the future or the fucking past. I don't know what was going on here. I said, but I went into a beautiful theater. I had a suit on. I said, maybe a fucking tuxedo. I don't know. I don't want to say I had a tuxedo, but I may have had a fucking tuxedo. And what's crazy? Most definitely, I had one ticket. I wasn't missing. I went alone. And as Donna tells us, everyone must stand alone. I hear you call my name, and it feels like home, just like a prayer. We're seeing the manifestations of the great Mother Maria in all kinds of people, even people who have no power to be good, you might say. And I'm not saying they're evil. I'm not saying everyone in the process church is evil or anyone initiated is evil. I'm not saying every Mason. I'm saying I am the one. I, Maria's spokesman, speaking for her. I know her, and we are together saying we are the ones saying there's always the exception. There's always the exception. That's why everything is fluid and changeable in the imagination. We go to other worlds, to resolve very specific vibrational themes within us. Why do I feel this way? You really want intuition? The intuition is the who, what, where, when, and why to every feeling. To every feeling. And the black magicians are fucking geniuses to have your mind. The same goes for your enemy. If you don't give them the respect and recognition, you will never get out of here because you're out of balance. You have a exaggerated opinion of self importance. I specifically remember Maria Orsic saying to me a very Scorpio thing, saying, yeah, I think if you want my opinion, what's wrong, with the world, and this was like 2020 or something, is they very much have a exaggerated opinion of self-importance. They have, they really do think that they don't have to have talent, that they don't have to have magic, and that it doesn't come from years and years of discipline and heart. Like, back to the dance, to the dream, the discipline, the hard work, the artist Maria Orsic, right? I was handed a program. I walked into a beautiful theater with a fucking tuxedo on. I took my seat. It was like left of the stage, maybe like 20 or 30 rows back. And it was very beautiful and very technological, Like, this was like, when I had this dream, this was like 2008, 2009, or maybe 2007, 2000. I don't think it was 2009. We'll say 2008. And, this seemed very futuristic from 2008 in my dream. It was like being a very classical theater of like beauty, old architecture, and yet on stage was the curtain, and when it opened, it was completely black with like not neon, but like laser energy waves that were like showing up in the smoke, and not like you see in a club, but very very precise, right? And it was like dancing to the music, right? And then it like those waves on each side of the stage kind of lit up, and you seen the two women walk out, and they were like in black, complete total black bodysuits, right? And you could tell it was just two small dancer women. They met and embraced and like intertwined their bodies together, and the lights went out, except for just two thin like lasers that weren't lighting the stage. And the actual two women were like the lights of their bodies were making like precise like veins, almost like trees, but very thin, and like they were like all intertwined. And then when they would dance together, and then they started dancing together, but they were like one. All of their movements, they were still intertwined, like their legs intertwined together. They were picking each other up, turning each other upside down, like kind of like looking like 69, but standing up, dancing and going like under each other, around each other. I mean, it was fucking amazing. I was in the dream, not knowing I was dreaming, of course, just going, holy fuck, my Lord, have I missed dance? I've never seen anything like this. I gotta tell people, holy shit, man, you gotta come see this. This is wild. Because it was so in time, and it was like causing such a great vibration in the room. Like you could feel everyone like becoming one, and like the whole vibration being lifted. And it went on, and it got to like a fever pitch, and I remembered I was so floored by the whole thing. I dropped the program. I had it in my hand when the show started. I never looked at it again. I stared at the stage for so long that I dropped the program, and when it got to like a fever pitch, my mind went, oh my God, I got to get that program. I went, what is this even called? What is the name of this spectacular, magical dance show? And I on the outside it said like something presents death. And I was like, holy shit. They're showing us what it's like to die, and how it could be total, complete peace and pleasure, which would be, brothers and sisters, what Maria said, what we call the eternal orgasm.